Hi everybody, Dan Oman here with some exciting news. DRF Formulator, the gold standard in past performance information, is now free, exclusively on DRF Bets. Join DRF Bets with the promo code WINNING, get a $250 first deposit match bonus, a $10 free bet, and free Formulator already uploaded to your account. Access Formulator's premium features, including sortable trainer stats, race replays, personalized trip notes, and lots more. Free Formulator, exclusively on DRF Bets.
Hi everyone, David Aragona here with a look at one of the stakes races on Saturday at Gulfstream Park. Race 11, the Hutcheson Stakes for 3-year-olds going 6 furlongs on the main track. Got a field of 7 3-year-olds signed on for this race, and I believe we're going to have a pretty heavy favorite in the number 4 Nitros Channel, a horse that was very impressive, winning his career debut about a month ago at Gulfstream Park, stepping right up into his stakes for his second start, but really not catching the toughest stakes field that we're going to see. So I think a lot of people would expect him to clear this hurdle, and a horse that I think a lot of people are pretty excited about that might be a pretty good sprinter miler in this 3-year-old division. But obviously he does have to win this second career start before we can get the hype up too much. Let's throw up the field for this race and take a look at these 7 runners. And the number 4 Nitros Channel is listed at 7-5 on the morning line. I'm not going to be surprised if he drifts down considerably lower than that. I would imagine this horse could be odds on, potentially even in the 3-5 range, because he just does have such a speed figure advantage over this field, and there is so much hype surrounding him. So he is the deserving favorite in this race, but I do think that there are some others worth considering. Some of the other horses that are single digits on the morning line are the number 5 Provocateur, Todd Pletcher runner, coming out of the stakes placing. Catton exiting the same race, he's 7-2, and also the number 2 American Sanctuary, who is 9-2 on the morning line, turning back out of some grade 1 events at the end of last year. I think a horse that also merits some consideration in this race. But let's get things started by taking a look at the Timeform US pace projection for this race before we move into the main contenders. And no surprise to see that favorite, the number 4 Nitros Channel, shown on the front end. He is a horse that did show high speed in his debut when he stalked a rival and took over, setting what was a moderate pace, but it was a fast race overall, so no surprise to see the pace projector depicting him on the front end. That said, there are some other horses with speed in this race. The number 3 Golden Juan, a horse we haven't seen since his 2-year-old season, did show a lot of speed in his races as a juvenile, so he could potentially be forwardly placed. The same goes for the number 5 Provocateur, a horse that has had early speed in some of his recent races. So I don't think that this pace or this early lead is just going to be gifted to Nitros Channel, but he definitely does seem like a horse that has multiple gears and can use that early speed to get in front of this field if he so chooses. Let's take a look at that last out victory, the only victory of debut winner Nitros Channel, the race that is going to establish him as the heavy favorite in this race when he won on February 5th at Gulfstream Park, going this same 6 furlong distance. That is him in the pink silks and pink cap that is taking over. He's this big, rounded, burly, chest-up son of Nyquist. No surprise when you see him on the racetrack that he sold for $625,000 as a 2-year-old in training, and he really ran to that purchase price in this debut effort, just winning by 2 lengths, but it seemed like a pretty live main race going in. A lot of first-time starters that appeared to be well-meant. So I don't think it was a huge surprise that the race came up as fast as it did. You see it got a 1:10 Timeform US speed figure, actually knocked down a little bit from the 1:14 final time number that this horse got for completing the 6 furlongs in 1:10 flat. Though do note there are a couple pace figures that are color-coded in blue, which indicates that the early pace wasn't that fast. It was really on the slower side. So Nitros Channel did have those things working in his favor that day, but still, he ran a very professional race for a horse making his debut. Obviously, he was well meant that day, getting bet down to 5-2, and we did get some validation of the quality of that race as another first-time starter from that spot, Uniki, who was 3rd, came back and won his next start with a speed figure improvement of, I believe, 7 points on the Timeform US scale. So that kind of validates the 1:10 Timeform US speed figure that Nitros Channel got for that victory, going out for George Weaver, who just has pretty decent stats with last out debut winners coming back for their next starts. Nothing really to write home about, but no red flags with the trainer stats for George Weaver and horses like this. And Nitros Channel just looks pretty solid as the leading contender in this race. I think it's just a matter of how short of a price do you want to take on a horse like this, because sometimes runners like this that are all upside get bet down too much of their next starts. And if he's getting down, hammered down to 3-5 or lower than that, maybe that's not really value on this horse. We'll see what some of the other horses, how much money they take into him. And let's take a look at some of the other contenders in this race, including the number 2 American Sanctuary. And let's go all the way back in the calendar to August of 2021 and check out his race in the Prairie Meadows Gold Juvenile Stakes going 6 furlongs. And I wanted to throw up this race that's 4 back in his past performances because it was the last time that American Sanctuary competed in a sprint race. After this, they stretched him out in distance to 2 turns for his next 3 starts. But for his 3-year-old debut, he's going to be, again, turning back to a sprint distance. And I just wanted to show the American Sanctuary finished up this race pretty strongly. And some might say, oh, this was a garbage field because it was at Prairie Meadows. Well, not exactly the case. I mean, there were some pretty good horses in there, including the winner, Fuel the Fire. And American Sanctuary took a good run at that horse in the late stages after kind of having to alter course in upper stretch. Subsequent to that, he really did improve, even though he didn't win any of his next races. He ran a game second in the Sapling and Monmouth after that. Then he came back in a couple of grade 1 tries, the Breeders' Futurity and the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. And I do want to highlight this horse had a pretty rough trip in the Breeders' Futurity. You can go back and watch it on your own, but Sophie Doyle, who was on him that day, just could not seem to avoid trouble on this horse, just kept steering him into the wrong spots, and he really had to stop and start multiple times. And it was actually a credit to his ability that he was able to get up for 4th despite having so much trouble. I think he was just overmatched in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, but now he's coming back for his 3-year-old season. I really don't mind the turn back in distance, and I've watched one of his recent workouts. It seems like he's really training well for this return to the races, and I like this rider upgrade that he's getting to Jose Ortiz. So this is probably just a starting point for a horse that might ultimately target longer races, but I do think he has real ability, and I would not let him get dismissed at too high of a price if he's really going off up way above that 9-2 morning line, and Nitros Channel is getting bet down a lot, because I do think that American Sanctuary is the biggest threat to the favorite. The 2 other horses that could attract support in here are Provocateur and Catton. Let's take a look at the race that both of them come out of when Provocateur was second in the Pasco Stakes at Tampa Bay Downs last time. This was back in the middle of January. That is Provocateur, who's highlighted there in the white bridle and those spendthrift silks. And coming off the far turn, it looked like he had this race won. He was traveling better than the runner who was inside. Briefly stuck his head in front, but that horse with the blinkers on the rail, Marcamian, was just much more game than him coming down to the wire. And Provocateur just kind of throws in the towel in the late stages, doesn't really fight on to the finish line, ultimately finishes second. Actually, the horse that crossed the wire third in that race, Catton, is also back in this spot. Provocateur, he's improved with each race, but like I said, I was somewhat disappointed in the visual last time in that Pasco. Got a 100-time Formula Speed figure, but he's going to have to improve off that significantly if he's going to upset the favorite Nitros Channel. Definitely the kind of horse that can round out the trifecta or exacta in a race like this, given the lack of depth among the rest of the field. It's really there are really 3 horses in this race that are double digits on the morning line that are just kind of filler. I think there are 4 main contenders, and Provocateur is one of them. Just was not viewing him as the strongest win candidate. And the same goes for the number 7 Catton. Like I said, he's coming out of the same race, the Pasco Stakes, as Provocateur. Another horse that has been steadily improving. You can see he's got that rising speed figure pattern over his last 3 races. He ran into some good ones at Gulfstream Park last year, competing as a 2-year-old. Octane, who won a couple of those stakes races, was really the boss of the Florida 2-year-old scene last year, and Catton got some minor awards behind him. He did run well enough to be 3rd behind Provocateur last time, but like I was saying, not the kind of effort that's going to make me want to back him into the face of a horse like Nitros Channel, who has so much upside. So let's throw my picks for this race. As I said, there are really just 4 main contenders, and I narrowed it down to 2, the favorite Nitros Channel, and that one that I thought was a legitimate alternative, the number 2 American Sanctuary. So in a situation like this, when I think 2 horses are interesting, I'm almost always going to put the bigger price on top, and that's the case with American Sanctuary. Not sure that he's ultimately going to be best going as short as 6 furlongs, but I just think he's better than his 2-year-old form at the end of last season would indicate. And if the pace does heat up in this Hutcheson, he is one that could come running late. Like I said, I have nothing against Nitros Channel. I think he likely is very talented. It's just a question of value with a horse that's probably going to get bet down to odds-on territory. So that's a look at the Hutcheson at Gulfstream Park on Saturday. Good luck if you're playing the races this weekend.